The Little Things Chapter 21 The Little Things in Life. I'm not so sure this is a good idea. What about you talking about? This is my idea. I know. That's why I said it. Jerk. It was the weekend. While life had settled down, Naruto had decided that it was time to do something that he hadn't been able to do in a while. Train. Even before his kidnapping, Naruto had been so busy training everyone else that he rarely got the chance to train himself. After speaking about it with Rias and Srizex, they had allowed him to use one of the Gremory estates in the underworld. The place they'd sent him to was far from any civilization, and it was separated from the rest of the underworld by a barrier similar to ones used in raiding games. Srizex had told Naruto that he would be able to go all out in here and not worry about anyone noticing, which was good, because Naruto intended to push the limits of his power. The area he'd chosen was far from the mansion proper. It was a desolate place that he stood in, a craggy desert situated next to a gigantic mountain range. Rocks and trenches filled his vision. There was nothing here for miles. It was the perfect place for him and Kurama to go wild. Look, we've already been over this. I need to see what we can do. No more surprises, no more fluctuations. Alright, fine, but don't blame me if you accidentally get yourself killed. I won't. Now let's start. Naruto steadied his breathing and slowly synced with Kurama. He felt the familiar energy flowing into him, and he knew that, should he open his eyes, he would be surrounded by the 10-tailed chakra cloak. He didn't feel any strain yet. Good. How much chakra are you using? About 0.5%. Seriously? Just 0.5%? Well, whatever, let's up the dosage. I have a feeling we're going to regret this. Just do it. Naruto felt the power inside of him increase, and suddenly, the air itself seemed to become denser. It wasn't, not really, but his perceptions had shifted to make him think that the air had become dense. In truth, it was simply Kurama's power surrounding him. Should we stop? And no, keep going. I'll let you know when it's too much. Kurama did keep going. Naruto felt the power encasing him like a suffocating bubble increase further. And along with the increase in chakra, the underworld's gravity seemed to increase with it. Naruto struggled to keep himself upright, but as Kurama's power levels surged, he fell onto a knee. His chest compressed like a biju was sitting on it. Breathing was becoming difficult. His brain felt fuzzy, like static electricity was running electrical interference on his ability to think logically. Everything was blurring out. He couldn't. Stop. Kurama. Back up. The power ceased flowing. Naruto gasped as oxygen flowed back into his brain. Only when he'd regained his breath did he speak to his partner. How much power was that? About 5%. Naruto flinched. It was only that little? I thought it would be more. You're forgetting that my power has grown immensely since we lived in our original world. I've gained the powers of 9 biju and a goddess with near infinite chakra. That's not the kind of power that can be mastered so easily. Why yeah, but still, besides that, I have a theory about why you can't use any more of my power. I'm listening. It's because you're a devil now. Naruto blinked. What? I'm not sure I understand. Naruto, have you ever wondered why you can no longer go into your 6-path sage mode anymore? Opening his mouth to respond, Naruto snapped it shut when he quickly realized that Kurama was right. Ever since he'd regained his chakra, he hadn't been able to enter his 6th path sage mode once. Only the regular sage mode and Kurama's tailed beast mode. Although that still didn't explain why he could use the truth-seeking balls, or was that the result of Kurama absorbing the other 8 biju and Otsutsuki Kagaya? That is because you are no longer fully human. With the metamorphosis your body has undergone, your chakra has been diluted, or rather, because you are half devil. The chakra that you inherited from Asura is only half as strong as it once was. Frowning as he thought about Kurama's words, Naruto tried to think this through logically. It didn't really make sense. His new status as a devil shouldn't have interfered with his powers as a human. If that was the case, then people like Kaneko and Kuroko wouldn't have been able to wield their yokai powers because they were only half yokai, unless… Are you saying that being a devil has made me incompatible with my own chakra? Not necessarily. I'm merely saying that your chakra has been diluted. You're not as powerful as you once were. It is possible that the reason for this is because you were nearly dead upon arriving in this world. Your coils were all but destroyed, and so when you were resurrected as a devil, Asura's chakra didn't have time to replenish. Perhaps if your coils had been healed, this wouldn't have happened. Or perhaps becoming a devil has simply weakened your human powers. There's no way for us to know for sure. Either way, it only feels like half your chakra is even with you. Naruto thought about Kurama's explanation. While it made sense, in a way, there were key components missing. Asura's chakra was a part of Naruto. It shouldn't have been possible for that chakra to not replenish after his coils had healed. What's more, Kurama was going off the idea that this had happened as a result of his coils being destroyed, then his body being changed into that of a devil, and Asura's chakra not being compatible with his new status, which also didn't make sense. If that was the case, then any human who had a sacred gear would have lost that sacred gear upon being resurrected as a devil. I know what you're thinking, Naruto, but I believe the sacred gears staying with humans after they're resurrected is the result of God's death. Your problem is another matter entirely. I suppose, Naruto sighed. Thinking about this wasn't getting him anywhere. Instead of thinking about how he, for whatever reason, didn't have his original power, he should have been thinking about how to regain it. Unfortunately, Naruto couldn't even begin to figure out what it would take to regain his lost power. If Kurama was correct, then his problem was that he'd become a devil. If that truly was the case, then nothing he did would change that, unless he somehow managed to become human again. As these thoughts ran through his head, Naruto finally realized something. He was lying in a crater. A really big crater. A really big crater. Kurama? Yes? Wasn't there supposed to be a mountain range nearby? Yes. I thought so. The mountain range is gone. There was a moment of silence as the two friends thought about the implications of that. Well, shit. I couldn't have put it better myself. Devil Ninja. Rias stared uncomprehendingly at Naruto, who could only look sheepish under the incredulous expression she sent him. They were in their bedroom. Rias sat in front of him, while Naruto opted to stand. So, let me get this straight, she started, rubbing her forehead. You not only demolished the barrier that my brother had personally set up, but you also destroyed an entire mountain range? Yes? You know that's coming out of your paycheck, right? Naruto winced, then blinked when he realized what she'd said. We get a paycheck. No, Naruto and Rias stared at each other. Rias's lips twitched. Naruto grinned. Soon enough, the two were smiling at each other. However, the mood quickly dispersed, and Rias's mirthful appearance was replaced with a frown. In all seriousness, I'm not sure what to think about this, Rias admitted. Are you upset? Rias shook her head. No, I'm not upset. Concerned, I think, is a more apt word for how I'm feeling. The power that your friend has is rather astounding. I'm afraid of what it could mean for us. Naruto didn't need her to elaborate. The power at Kurama's disposal was dangerous, and not just because others would come seeking that power. I wonder what she would think if she knew that, before coming to this world, I was nearly that powerful myself. I know. Using this power is a double-bladed sword. It's just as likely to slay my allies as it is my enemies. Is that why you've never used your full power? No, Naruto sighed as he sat next to Rias. The truth is, even if I wanted to, I couldn't use my full power. Naruto explained his problems to Rias as best he could. Unfortunately, neither he nor Kurama were even sure if their guess was right. It wasn't like they had anything to go off of. All Naruto knew was that, even though his chakra coils had fully recovered, his power wasn't where it should have been. That does sound like a problem, Rias murmured, her eyebrows furrowing. I thought that I'd be back at full power once I regained all of my chakra, Naruto finished. However, it seems that my chakra is weaker than it should be. Do you know if becoming a devil changes a person's nature? It shouldn't. When a human becomes a devil, all that happens is they gain a devil's affinity for darkness and an increased lifespan. I've never heard of anything like this happening before. As Rias bit her thumb, Naruto's attention went toward her lips. They glistened a light, lush pink that made him want to push her onto the bed and claim those lips with his own. He shook his head, chiding himself. Now's not the time for that. Could it have something to do with me being from another world? Naruto had never really thought about it, but surely, being from another world meant that things worked differently for him than they would for someone else. Different worlds followed different rules, and they weren't supposed to mingle. Perhaps simply being here, in this world, had caused his own existence to become unstable. That could be it, Kurama admitted. However, I don't think that's the true cause, or rather, that might what caused your problem, but it isn't the problem itself. Perhaps we shouldn't think of this for right now, Rias suggested, standing up and stretching her arms above her head. Naruto felt a different sort of hunger as Rias's breasts pop out of her shirt. She wasn't wearing a bra. We don't really have any information to go on, so all we can do right now is speculate. I'll have my brother introduce you to Ajuka Beelzebub sometime. He was the creator of the evil peace system, so he might be able to help. Right, Rias frowned. Are you paying attention? Not really. Her frown growing deeper, Rias opened her mouth to say something, probably an admonishment. She would never get the chance, however, because Naruto placed his hands onto her shoulders, then pushed her onto the bed. She gave a startled yelp as he placed his hands on either side of her head, pinning her to the mattress. I don't think we should talk about this anymore, he told her. Rias's cheeks turned pink. She turned her head. I just said that. In fact, Naruto began again, staring at her lips. I don't think we should talk at all. Looking back at him, Rias suddenly gave him a shy yet coy smile. Then what do you think we should be doing? Naruto didn't answer her with words. He simply kissed her. Devil Ninja, the days passed by simply. Naruto spent much of his time training, hanging out with his friends, or spending time with Rias. His training wasn't going too well, unfortunately. He seemed to have hit a stump, a roadblock in his path. While he polished all of the skills currently in his arsenal, some of his old attacks were simply out of his reach. There appeared to be something wrong with his chakra. It wasn't unstable, but the more he exercised his control, the more he noticed it. He was missing something. He didn't know what, and even Kurama seemed to be at a loss, but some core component of his chakra appeared to be gone. It felt like he was missing half of himself. At least his relationship with Rias had been mended. In fact, he would say that his relationship with her was better than before. There was apparently some truth to what people said, that old saying about how disputes between loved ones brought them closer together. That being said, he really hoped that they never had a disagreement like this one ever again. They spent a lot more time together, him and Rias. It was more than just sleeping together and occasionally going out. While Naruto spent a lot of time training, he spent just as much time trying to be a good boyfriend. They would go out on dates, spend time wandering the city, going to anime, video game stores incognito because Rias didn't want people to know about her Japanese culture fetish. He didn't really get that last part. Why hide the fact that you like something? Still, he didn't question her desire to keep that part of her life secret. Even if he didn't see much point since Kaneko, Revel, and now Irina, Metatron and Ophis all knew about it, but that was just him. His new house guests seemed to have grown accustomed to living with him and the others. Metatron was a bit bothersome, but he seemed to be a well-meaning individual. He really liked Irina, though. She was so respectful, always bowing and speaking politely. She was a bit fanatical when it came to her religion, but she never pushed it on him. She also seemed curious about his origins, as she would always ask questions about where he came from. Being the somewhat boastful person that he was, Naruto had no trouble telling her all the stories of his heroic actions in his old world. Revel didn't seem to like Irina very well. She never acted outright hostile, but Naruto thought he could sense a sort of tension between them, though it only appeared to go one way. He sincerely hoped that Revel would eventually get over her hang-ups and accept Irina as a new member of their family. That morning, Naruto took a shower alone. After washing up and drying off, he wandered back into his bedroom. Rias was already dressed, wearing her school uniform. She stood beside the bed, packing items into a large briefcase. Naruto saw everything from wigs to wings to Sailor Fuku uniforms getting stuffed into it. His sweat dropped. Do you really need all those costumes? Of course I do, Rias answered decisively. I'm not sure what I want to dress up as yet, so I need to make sure I'm prepared. I packed cosplay for you, too. Great, he sighed. Problem? Nope. Chuckling, Naruto walked up behind Rias and wrapped her in his arms, pulling her against his chest. Naruto? Naruto grinned. Yes? Could you let go, please? I need to finish packing. So, packing is more important than me? At the moment? Yes. OWCH. That's harsh. Her eyes dancing with mischief, Rias spun around and kissed him on the lips. You know I love you, but this is important to me. It's the first time I've ever done this, and it's going to be with you. I need to make sure we have a good time. You do realize that we're not leaving until this weekend, right? We still have one more day of school. I know, but it never hurts to be prepared. If you say so. Naruto shrugged. I'm pretty sure I'll have a good time regardless, but I know how you get about these things. Anyway, I'm gonna make us some breakfast. Thank you. Rias kissed him one more time before she went back to backing. Naruto shook his head and left the room. Once Rias was set on something, not even moving heaven and hell would be enough to stop her. He traveled into the kitchen to make some grub, but the scent of something baking told him that someone had beat him to it. Entering the room, Naruto was greeted by Revel. She stood by the stove, dressed in a pink apron, flipping what appeared to be pancakes. Revel, eat. Revel nearly dropped her spatula. Spinning around, she raised a hand to her heart. Her cheeks were an adorable shade of pink. And Naruto-sama, gee, good morning. Good morning, Naruto greeted, eyeing Revel. She wore no shoes that morning, and her cute toes wiggled against the tiled floor. Shapely calves and curvy thighs disappeared into her apron, which covered her stomach and chest. You and Naruto-sama, she said, squirming under his gaze. See, could you please not look at me so intensely? Why are you wearing an apron? It's because I'm cooking. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Why are you wearing nothing but an apron? Indeed, Revel was wearing nothing but an apron. The curve of her bare bottom revealed itself in all its splendors. Her breasts, quite large for her tiny frame, strained against the apron, spilling out and granting him a generous glimpse of her side boob. Naruto didn't want to admit it, but her body, the way she embarrassingly tried to cover herself, and the pink flush of her cheeks, was all rather fetching. While he was dedicated to Rias, Naruto was still a guy, and as a hot-blooded male, he really liked what he saw. Why? Revel squeaked. I'm only wearing this because this is what people wear when they cook breakfast. I'm certainly not wearing it for you or anything. Under the heavy weight of Naruto's stare, Revel crumbled like a stack of cards. Kaneko told me I should wear this. Her cheeks became more inflamed. Do people not wear this when they make breakfast? Well, no, Naruto answered. Revel became even more embarrassed. But don't worry, he gave her a thumbs up. You look really good in that. I have to admit, I'm gonna be jealous of whoever marries you. Poof. Naruto blinked when Revel's head lit on fire. Are you okay? Fine. I'm fine. I'm just fine. Okay. Stop asking me that. Squeaking like a mouse, the blonde girl turned around and tried to busy herself with her cooking. She seemed to have forgotten that she wasn't wearing anything but an apron, so Naruto was given an unfettered glimpse of her backside. Damn, she really is sexy. My sexy jutsu has nothing on her. Readjusting himself, Naruto sat down at the table, where a bored-looking Ophis was reading from a book. Upon sitting down, Ophis vacated her seat and sat in his lap. Her eyes never left the page, and Naruto peered over her head to see what she was reading. Is that a dirty magazine? Yes. Why are you reading it? Research, Ophis said, flipping a page. Naruto felt tempted to ask what she meant by research, but another part was afraid of the answer. In the end, he decided not to ask. Several minutes later, Irina wandered into the room, her cheerful smile illuminating the area. Good morning, everyone. Why in the name of our Holy Father are you naked? Shut up. I don't want to hear any of your self-righteous talk right now, a blushing Revel shouted. Irina looked at Naruto, who could only shrug helplessly. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. As Revel huffed and returned to her cooking, Irina sat down next to Naruto and leaned over. Is there any reason that Revel-san is, naked? Naruto asked softly. Yes. Kaneko told her that's how people dress when cooking. I had the same reaction, Naruto said to Irina's incredulous gaze. Ophis flipped a page in her book. Her eyes never left it. Rias wandered into the kitchen next. Good morning, everyone, she trailed off. And stared. Pete, please don't look at me like that, Rias-sama, Revel said, squirming in place. Why are you naked? Rias asked, her tone deadpan. And no reason. She glanced at Naruto, Irina, and then Ophis. So I see. Apparently not finding the answers she sought from them, she sat down. Looking at the three others, she asked, why is Revel? We don't know, Irina and Naruto said at the same time. Ophis flipped another page. Right. Rias blinked when she looked at what Ophis was reading. Is that a dirty magazine? Yes, Ophis said. Why are you reading that? Research. Research? Rias looked at Naruto, who could only shrug. Naruto felt her chakra before she entered. He looked up just as she walked into the room. Kaneko, dressed in her school uniform, her cat ears twitching and her tail waving behind her. She stopped upon entering and, after pouting upon seeing where Ophis was sitting, turned to Revel, who was glaring at her. She smirked. Nice outfit, Cacciatore. This is all your fault. Revel stopped cooking and chased Kaneko around the room, waving her arms furiously back and forth. Fire erupted around her hands. Naruto thought she would start throwing fireballs, and he was prepared to step in should they get out of hand. He hoped it wouldn't come to that, however. He rather liked watching the way Revel ran around. I really am a pervert. I don't know what's worse, that I've been corrupted, or that I can't blame it on Ero Sennin. Shouldn't we stop them? Irina asked as Naruto made a clone to serve them breakfast. Nah, Naruto said, this is just how they are sometimes. Let the two have their fun. Oh okay. Rias offered her a kind smile. I know it may seem weird, but this is actually how they work. They're both really good friends. Crash. You stupid cat. Bang. Stop running and let me murder you. Boom. I'm going to kill you. Well, Rias amended, sometimes, they're really good friends. Alright, Irina muttered, eyeing the pair warily. It was at this time that Metatron walked in. No longer wearing his armor, he wore a sharp business suit, and a headband with a blank metal plate on it, which served to keep his long hair out of his face. Naruto sighed. An angel with a ninja obsession. I really don't know what to think about that. Good morning, Ninja-sama. My hair is on fire. Everyone watched in mute silence as Metatron, his hair now lit ablaze like a raging bonfire, ran around the room, adding to the chaos. Meanwhile, Revel had resorted to tossing fireballs at Kaneko, though none of them seemed to hit. So, Naruto smiled as his clone set down the tray of pancakes. Who wants breakfast? Devil Ninja. I can't believe you, Revel scowled furiously at Kaneko. They were walking to school. Ahead of them, Naruto, Rias and Irina chatted. It sounded like Rias was talking to Irina, asking the girl how she was settling in. Metatron had left earlier, stating something about how it's always proper to arrive early. I can't believe you did this to me. Do you know how embarrassing that was? Revel held a hand to her face and bemoaned her fate. And now Naruto-sama and Rias-sama have seen me in such an unseemly manner. I'm sure they hate me now. That morning she had wanted to impress Naruto with some more of her cooking. And not that she actually liked him or anything. Well, no, that wasn't true. She did like him, but it was only because she respected and admired his determination. She also enjoyed it when he complimented her. However, because of Kaneko's suggestion, she'd not been able to receive her due praise, and instead she'd embarrassed herself in front of the two people she admired most. Neither Naruto or Rias would hate you over something like this, Kaneko reassured her. You be quiet. Revel spat. It's your fault I'm in this situation. That is true, and I do feel bad for you, Kaneko confessed. That's why I'm going to help you. Really? Revel eyed her frenemy with suspicion. She'd already been fooled once. She wouldn't be tricked like that again. Kaneko, her expression serious, nodded. Yes. How? By giving you these? Kaneko handed something to Revel. 2 small slips of paper, which she realized were actually tickets. 2 free passes for 3 hours of karaoke at Tomomo's karaoke bar. Revel looked at Kaneko. What are these? Just what they look like, Kaneko said. I was originally going to ask Naruto if he wanted to sing karaoke with me this weekend, but I'm giving them to you instead. You're giving these to me? Yes. But don't you want to spend time with Naruto? Revel was shocked. She knew that Kaneko loved Naruto. The girl spent all her waking time with him whenever he wasn't with Rias. Revel would often catch them taking cat naps together, meditating under the waterfall in the second garden near the back, or sparring in the underground training room. For Kaneko to give up a chance to spend quality alone time with Naruto, well, it flabbergasted Revel. I do, but I can spend time with him doing anything. Kaneko gave Revel a knowing look. You actually need an excuse to spend time with him. Revel didn't know whether to cry or hug Kaneko. Her heart felt fit to burst. With these tickets, she could actually spend time with Naruto-sama. And it would be just the two of them, and they would sing together, and eat together, and as the day wore on, Naruto would rest his head in her lap, and poof! Smoke burst from Revel's ears as her mind quickly went down the gutter. Perv, Kaneko muttered. I am not, Ravel muttered weakly. Super perv. That's not true. I just, Naruto-sama. I understand. You like him. Ravel started, only to stop when she saw the look in Kaniko's eyes. Her shoulders slumped. I like Naruto-sama. I like him, too. Then why are you giving these to me? Kaniko paused before answering. Because Naruto-sama is dating Rias, and he's serious about it. Serious enough that we'll never have a chance with him if we don't work together. Why you mean polygamy? Polygamy wasn't really an accepted practice in the underworld. On the other hand, it wasn't an unaccepted practice either. It was something of an open secret that many devils made their servants members of their harem. She knew of this one woman nicknamed the Black Widow, who had numerous male servants at her beck and call. And many male devils resurrected beautiful human females to become members of their harem, still. But for two members of a noble house to become part of a harem is. She and Rias were nobles. Both of them were members of the 72 Pillars, and with the recent decrease in the pureblood devil population, it was important for them to marry a pureblood devil. Rias was clearly not going to be doing that, which meant it was doubly important for Ravel, as a pureblood, to marry another pureblood and sire and heir. To do anything less was to bring shame upon her family. Kaniko nodded. I understand, but you need to ask yourself what's more important, your status or the person you love. LLLL love. Ravel squeaked. Who said anything about love? I don't love Naruto-sama. Haven't we already been over this? Kaniko asked. In any case, you now have those tickets. All you need to do is find him during lunch, ask for a moment of his time, and then present him with the tickets and say you want to go out with him. Naruto likes you. He's going to say yes. Would he really say yes? Of course he would. Naruto isn't the type of person who would deny one of his precious people a chance to spend time with him. He's selfless like that. Ravel's heart wavered. Even if she had trouble saying it out loud, she did love Naruto, and she wanted him to love her back. Of course, she respected Rias too much to try and usurp the redhead's position as Naruto's foremost lover, but she still wanted him to see her, to acknowledge her, and to return her feelings. I'll do it. She swallowed. Her throat felt dry. I'll ask him to go sing karaoke with me during lunchtime today. That's the spirit. Kaniko slapped Ravel on the back, sending the girl stumbling with her rook strength. OWCH. Ravel rubbed her back and glared. That really hurt. Kaniko actually looked sheepish. Sorry, I used too much strength. I don't believe you. Despite her words, Ravel smiled at Kaniko, whose expression mirrored her own. She really was glad that she had such a good friend. Hey, you two, Naruto called. While they'd been talking, Naruto, Rias, and Irina had pulled ahead of them. What are you doing all the way back there? Come on, hurry up or we'll be late for class. We're coming, Naruto-sama. Kaniko and Ravel shared one last smile before running to catch up with the others. Devil Ninja, I wonder why Azazel-san called us to the clubroom, Asia said as she, Issei, and Akeno entered the old school building. It was early in the morning, and they really should have been in class, but Azazel, their new advisor and leader of the Grigori, had asked to see them. Who knows? Issei waved a hand in the air. Knowing that guy, it's probably some stupid reason like, I want to study your bodies to further my research. Or something, he said, making a poor attempt at imitating Azazel's voice. Asia giggled. Akeno remained silent. Akeno-sama. Asia glanced at Akeno, who remained quiet. Are you okay? Akeno only seemed to realize that she'd been staring off into space after Asia spoke. She jerked her head around, blinking several times, as if just now noticing them. Then she smiled. It was the most fake smile Issei had ever seen. Era. I'm sorry Asia-chan. What were you saying? No, it's nothing. It's just that you've been so quiet, I was worried about you. Asia held a hand to her chest, clutching the fabric of her shirt. Have we been bothering you, Akeno-sama? Issei wondered if it was weird that he no longer batted an eyelash at how he and Asia called Akeno-sama. Naruto-sensei always made fun of him for it, but he thought it only made sense. Even if Naruto-sensei was his sensei, Akeno was sort of like his master. No, that was Rias, wasn't it? Well, either way, she was the person he listened to the most. It was only right to call someone like that Sama, wasn't it? Akano smiled as she wandered around Issei and trapped Asia in a hug. Ufufufu, what's this? My cute little Asia-chan couldn't possibly be thinking something like, Akano-sama hasn't been giving me enough attention lately. Have I done something to upset her, could she? And no, that isn't, on. Issei was felled by a nosebleed as Akano nibbled on Asia's earlobe. Carmen dripped from his nose and created a puddle on the floor, which he then tripped on. The world went white, pain exploding in the back of his head as he slammed into the wooden floor. Issei needed to wait for his vision to return. When it did, Asia-chan and Akano-sama were standing over him, one appearing worried and the other amused. Hey, are you okay, Issei-san? Why yeah, I'm fine. Asia extended her arm and he accepted it, allowing her to help him up. Ufufu, Ise-kun. You know that you shouldn't be thinking such dirty thoughts when we're at school, don't you? Sorry. Akano-sama. Issei scratched the back of his head, grinning sheepishly. Well, Akano crossed her arms. I suppose it is fine. You're a growing boy, after all, and growing boys think naughty thoughts all the time. I'll forgive you. Thank you. They resumed walking, but Issei continued to cast worried glances at Akano-sama. Ever since the battle for Kuo Academy, she'd been acting differently. She didn't tease him and Asia-chan as much. This, right here, had actually been the first time she'd messed with them in nearly 2 weeks. Most of the time, Akano would sit alone, and sometimes she would seclude herself entirely. He'd also caught her glancing at him several times in the past 2 weeks, and every time he saw her looking at him, the forlorn expression on her face made his chest sting. They entered the club room to find Azazel sitting in the seat normally reserved for Rias. He wasn't alone. Rainier, Issei shouted in surprise. He stepped in front of Asia and Akano, to protect them, though from what, he didn't know. What the hell are you doing here? I thought I told you to never come near Asia-chan again? Rainier stood beside Azazel, her arms crossed, expression petulant. She looked like a spoiled child who was being forced to do something that she didn't want to do. Don't think I enjoy being here. If it could be helped, I would have never stained my eyesight with your pathetic face, Agai, Kyan. I am sorry about her foul mouth. Azazel removed his hand from her backside, where he slapped her. It seems that she still hasn't learned anything yet. Ufufufu, Akino's giggle sent shivers down Issei's spine. Azazel, Sama. Perhaps you could tell me what this wench of a fallen angel is doing here with you. A wench, am I? Rainier snarled. Then what does that make you? The perverted little shih tzu, Eon. Her eyes went wide as Azazel reached down and pinched her butt. His actions made her thrust out her chest and clenched her cheeks. Her face was glowing red. Issei gulped. Now, Azazel chided lightly. I thought I told you not to say anything for a while and let me do the talking, Rainier-chan. Sorry, Azazel-sama, Rainier said meekly. Issei blinked. That was such a different response from what he'd gotten from her. To think she could actually act so meek and demure. It was too different from the Rainier he remembered. He raised a hand. Look, I really don't care to see some old guy pinching a young woman's ass, even if I do think she deserves a lot more humiliation. What was that, you little, kya? So could you please just get to the point and tell us why we're here? And also tell us what Rainier is doing here? Issei finished, glancing at Asia, who stared at Rainier, her eyes wide with fear. She was shaking. Not that Issei could blame her. This was, after all, the woman who tried to steal her sacred gear. The reason I called you here is because of Rainier, Azazel said. My subordinate here has caused you a lot of trouble, I understand. After everything that she has done, I cannot expect you to forgive her, nor can I expect you to forgive us without some form of repayment. That is why I'm giving Rainier to you, Issei Hyodo and Asia Argento. From this day forth, Rainier is going to be your slave. I've already got the idea signed off by Searsex, so do not worry about that. You may do whatever you want with her. Use her. Abuse her. Ravage her until she's nothing but a drooling mess of orgasmic bliss. I really didn't need to hear that. I only ask that you not kill her. That would be giving her the easy way out, after all. What? Devil Ninja, Naruto and the others met up with Kiba upon arriving at school. After saying their goodbyes, he and his fellow journeyed to their classroom. They got a lot of stares. Kya, it's Kiba-kun. Kiba-kun, hi. I still can't believe those two are friends. Isn't that Naruto just some Yakuza thug? I hear he's threatened Rias-sama into becoming his sex slave. I was told that he's threatening Kiba-kun into being his whipping boy. Kya, that's so naughty. Naruto's right eye twitched several times. He looked at Kiba, who didn't seem to have heard the conversation taking place around them. Being only a regular resurrected devil, Kiba's hearing probably wasn't as good as his. Is something wrong, Naruto? Kiba asked with a friendly smile. No, Naruto slowly shook his head. Nothing's wrong. Entering their classroom, he and Kiba sat down and chatted about current events and how it affected the other students. It's almost amazing how no one even knows that this school was a battleground several weeks ago, Naruto said. Well, there was some fuss about it on the news, Kiba told him. Apparently, someone got really reckless with their attacks and destroyed a good portion of a mountain. He eyed Naruto, who suddenly felt sheepish. People thought it was a terrorist bombing, but it blew over pretty quickly. I suspect Michael, Azazel, and Sirzax had all the memories and evidence of this event erased. You're pretty lucky, you know? Yeah, Naruto chuckled nervously. I suppose I am. Honestly, Kiba sighed. I still don't understand how you became so powerful. Powerful, huh? Naruto looked down at his hands. Kiba had no idea what he was talking about. This wasn't powerful. He could boast all he wanted about being powerful enough to fight on par with Ophis, but his power was gone. Key components were missing. Damn it. I thought I'd gotten over this weakness once my chakra returned. Do not despair, Naruto. You might not be as strong as you once were, but I am far more powerful than I've ever been. That really doesn't help us right now. Even if Kurama had gained the powers of a goddess and 8 other Biju, Naruto couldn't use that power because his own chakra was apparently missing something. Damn it. This whole situation was fucked up. You're getting angry. No, I'm getting frustrated. Same difference. Naruto. Huh? Naruto looked over to see Kiba staring at him. What's wrong? Are you okay? Your face was. Well, forgive me for saying so, but it looked kind of scary. Did it? Naruto scratched his head and laughed. Sorry about that. I was just thinking about something that's been bothering me. Something that's been bothering you? Do you want to talk about it? Naruto thought about taking Kiba up on his offer, but soon decided against it. No thank you, but I don't think this is a problem that can be solved by anyone but me. I understand. If you ever change your mind, just know that I'm here if you need me. Thanks. Naruto slapped Kiba in the back. You're a good man, Kiba. Kiba winced and rubbed his back. Thanks, I think. All right, class, settle down. The door opened and in walked a handsome man with long silver hair and a pretty boy face. He wore a sharp business suit that conformed to his broad shoulders well, and his masculine chest strained against his white shirt. All the girls swooned. Who is that hunky guy? He's so dreamy. The guys were more interested in the man's companion. Hey, who's the chick? I don't know, but she's smoking. The hunk stood in front of the class and smiled. Naruto could have sworn he saw sparkles around the guy. Good morning, class. My name is Metatron, and from today onwards, I shall be your homeroom teacher. I hope we all get along. Naruto had known that Metatron was going to be his teacher. It was something that had been decided upon by the 3 factions alliance. To promote friendship and understanding, several members from the Devil, Angel, and Fallen Angel factions were being sent to Ko Academy as either teachers like Metatron, or students like Irina. Naruto had also learned from Sirzax that he, Azazel, and Michael were planning some kind of big event to bring their factions even closer, though his Aniki had been awfully stingy on the details. What Naruto hadn't expected was the person standing next to Metatron. Hey, Naruto, isn't that? Yeah, Naruto said, it's Rainier. Did you know that she would be going here? Kiba asked. Naruto shook his head. He'd not heard anything about this. Metatron clapped his hands together. Now, I know it's unusual to have a new teacher and a new student at the same time, but please make Ms. Rainier feel at welcome. Go on, introduce yourself. TCH. Clicking her tongue, Rainier stepped forward and gave them an ugly expression, like she was staring at a bunch of insects. My name is Rainier, and don't expect me to get along with any of you bugs. Come near me, and I'll step on you. The classroom went still as a disgusting blob of brown liquid suddenly fell on her head, drenching her. What is this? Rainier shrieked. Mud. Nobody but Naruto noticed the puff of smoke on the ceiling. He covered his mouth with a hand, snorting with laughter. That was mean, Naruto, Kiba said, though his eyes twinkled as he spoke. Oh, relax. It's just a harmless prank. Harmless, right? Oh, dear. Metatron frowned at Rainier. Why don't you go get cleaned up, Ms. Rainier? The bathroom is just down the hallway and to your left. Glowering, Rainier stomped out of the room. Metatron turned back to the class and smiled. Well, while Ms. Rainier is getting cleaned up, why don't I take roll? Naruto sat back and closed his eyes as Metatron called off names. He was curious to see how having all three factions working together in this school would pan out. In some ways, this was like a small-scale experiment to see if peaceful coexistence was truly possible. I might not be able to do much, but if my contribution can help even a little bit, I need to do what I can to make sure everything works out. Naruto Uzuma. Ah, a gasp. Metatron's eyes sought him out. Naruto froze when those eyes began to sparkle. Ninja-sama. I didn't know that you and I would be in the same classroom. Whispers broke out. What's going on? How do those two know each other? Did our new teacher just call that Yankee, Ninja-sama? What is it with that Yakuza knowing all these hunky guys? La gasp. Is this new teacher and Kiba a part of his BL harem? Somebody, kill me now, Naruto thought, wearily rubbing his face as the girls broke out into scandalized squeals. Unfortunately for Naruto, his prayers would go unanswered. Devil Ninja, class eventually ended. Kiba had prior engagements, something about promising to spend time with someone or whatever, so Naruto said his goodbyes and met up with Rias. As they were walking down the hallway of the newly recreated school, they ran into someone they never thought they'd see again. Ah! Midult pointed an accusing finger at Naruto. It's the pervert. Ah! Naruto's hands made creepy grasping motions. It's the adorable little girl. Come here, you. What? No. Kya. What are you? Get away from me. Rias remained silent as Naruto began chasing Midult around the hallway, gathering more attention than ever before from his fellow students. As she watched, footsteps reached her over the whispers of her high school peers, and Rias turned to see Calla Warner, decked out in a skirt and white-collared shirt. It was hard to look at her and not see the woman as an enemy. Rias would admit, if it weren't for her brother warning her about this, she would have attacked the fallen angel on the spot. Lady Rias, Calla Warner struggled with the honorific, as if calling Rias anything other than scum was anathema to her. Calla Warner, Rias greeted the woman courteously. I hope you're settling into your new life here. I am settling well enough, thank you. Come on, just let me pet you. No, get lost, ya freak. Rias and Calla Warner shared a sweat drop. Aren't you going to stop your boyfriend? Rias looked at Naruto, who lunged at Midult. The girl proved to be quite nimble, however, as she leapt clear over her boyfriend's head. Not that it meant much, as Naruto was every bit as agile as the girl he was chasing and then some. He performed an admirably acrobatic flip, planted his feet on the ceiling, and launched himself at the girl. Midult let out a terrified shriek and ducked, which caused Naruto to crash into a set of lockers. No, Rias said after a few seconds had passed. I've learned that there is no stopping Naruto when he gets like this. She chuckled when Naruto suddenly caught Midult within his grasp and rubbed his cheek against the girl's head. What the hell are you doing? Get off me, ya fucktard. Ah, aren't you just the cutest thing ever? SSSS shut up, I'll fucking kill you. Even your swearing is adorable, I just want to pet you so bad. Creep. Pervert. Hentai. Calla Warner turned her gaze from Naruto to Rias. She raised an eyebrow, as if to ask, what the hell is wrong with your boyfriend? Rias grinned and shook her head. He's not actually a lolicon, if that's what you're thinking. She knew him well enough by now. He simply liked goofing off, and acting like a fool around other people made everyone underestimate him. Even his love for cute things, which she now understood was derived from his devil nature and desired to have a normal childhood, was played up more for kicks than because he actually liked little girls. If you say so, Calla Warner shrugged. It's not like I actually care or anything. I thought as much. Let me go. Midult's despairing wails echoed across the hall. Devil Ninja. Class ended with the ringing of the bell. Revel stood up from her seat and grabbed her bag. With Kaneko beside her, she left the classroom and entered the hallway. Do you have the tickets? Kaneko asked. Revel nodded and reached into her bag, feeling the familiar smooth paper slips caress her fingers. She wrapped her hands around them and pulled them out, clutching them to her chest. "And you know what to do?" Kaneko asked. Revel nodded. She knew what to do. She needed to go up to Naruto, ask to speak with him in private, and then ask him out to karaoke with her this weekend. Kaneko said that she was important to Naruto, that he wouldn't turn her down. This was her chance. "Can you do it?" Kaneko asked another question. Revel slowed her breathing. She wouldn't combust from this. She needed to be brave. "I think so." "Good, because he's right over there." "What?" Revel looked up to see a grinning Naruto walking alongside Rias. His hands were behind his head, and he radiated an oddly satisfied feeling. "I can't believe you. Do you enjoy tormenting little girls?" "Of course not. I just think it's fun to make people squirm." "When did you become a sadist?" "You're imagining things. I'm no sadist. Besides, that was for her own good. I was helping her acclimate to her new life here." "If you say so." She didn't really know what Naruto and Rias were talking about, but they looked like they were having fun. Revel felt her resolve waver. Should she really be doing this? Was asking him on a date the right thing to do? Maybe it would be better if she simply waited until Naruto became a king, and then asked if he would accept her as his bishop. "What are you waiting for?" Kaneko asked, slapping Revel in the back and sending her flying. "Go get him." Revel stumbled forward, but quickly regained her balance. She tossed Kaneko a glare, though her Nekusho friend didn't seem bothered by it. Kaneko merely gestured for Revel to continue with the plan. Revel's cheeks became hot as she turned around. Naruto was saying something to Rias, a big smile on his face. Her heartbeat quickened, threatening to burst out of her chest, but she took several deep breaths to calm herself. She hid the tickets behind her back. "En Naruto-sama," she called out, her voice squeaking. Naruto and Rias stopped walking. Upon seeing who was calling him, the two changed direction and walked over to her. "Heya, Revel." Naruto greeted her with a smile that made her body feel luminescent. Revel felt like she'd turned into a pile of goo any second now. "How was your class?" "C class was fine." Revel cursed herself for stuttering. Come on. This was her chance. She couldn't afford to screw this up now. "And Naruto-sama, would it be okay if I spoke with you in private?" "Private?" Naruto glanced at Rias, who nodded, then turned back to her with a sunny smile. "Sure, lead the way, Revel." Breathing a sigh of relief, Revel bowed to Rias and led Naruto out of the school building and over to a large tree located in the courtyard behind the school. Few people ever used this place, so it was the perfect spot to ask him on a date. They stood there for several moments. Revel tried to gather her courage. "Okay, I have Naruto alone. And now I just need to ask him out to KK karaoke this weekend. I can do this, I think." "Are you feeling okay, Revel?" Naruto asked, and Revel squeaked when she realized how close he was. "Your face is all red." I am fine. Thank you for your concern." Revel calmed herself down. She could do this. "Naruto-sama, what are you, do you have any plans for this weekend?" "Plans?" Naruto asked, tilting his head. Clutching the tickets behind her back, Revel nodded, waiting on bated breath for his answer. It wasn't the question she'd wanted to ask, which was, "Will you go sing karaoke with me this weekend?" But if he said he wasn't busy, then she could always make that her next question. "Aha! You caught me." Grinning, Naruto scratched his head. "Rias and I are actually leaving for a weekend trip to Akihabara. We were gonna tell all of you after class today, but I guess you suspected something was going on from the get-go. We weren't very subtle." Revel felt her heart drop into her stomach. For some reason, she felt short of breath, like an icy hand had grabbed hold of her heart and was squeezing it into a fine paste. Oh, I see, so you already have plans. Hey, I guess I should have realized that you and Rias-sama would be doing something for the weekend." Revel turned around, presenting her back to Naruto. She didn't want him to see her tears. Well, Revel sniffled. "I guess I'll leave you alone for now." You're not going to eat lunch with us? I have some things that I need to take care of," Revel said before running off. She hurried back into the school building, passing Rias and Kaneko, traveling through a set of halls and entering the bathroom. She rushed into a stall, slammed and locked the door behind her, sat down and finally let loose. Tears poured from her eyes and a sharp pain filled her chest. She should have known that Naruto wouldn't be able to spend any time with her. He was always spending his free time with Rias. It was only natural. She was his girlfriend, after all. Ravel understood that, but still. It hurts. Ravel? Rias's voice called from the other side. Ravel, are you okay? Ravel didn't answer. She knew it was rude, but right now, she didn't want to speak with Rias. She didn't even want to think about Rias. Ravel, is everything alright? Please, talk to me. Go away, Ravel said, burying her face between her knees, which she drew up to her chest. I don't want to talk to you. There was a moment of silence from the other side. Ravel thought she heard whispering, but she honestly wasn't paying much attention. Okay. I'll leave you alone. But you know, if you ever want to talk to me about whatever is bothering you, I'm always here to listen. Ravel felt an acute pain in her chest. She wished Rias wasn't so nice. If Rias had been mean, or even somewhat rude, then Ravel could have hated her. This feeling would have been so much easier to deal with if Ravel could hate her. The sound of receding footsteps and a door opening and closing let Ravel know that Rias had probably left. Yet even so, she refused to move from that spot, at least until the door she hid behind squealed as it was bent like a piece of paper. Eek! Ravel's eyes widened as Kaneko demolished the door and stepped inside the stall. No words were spoken. Kaneko simply stepped up to her and wrapped her up in a hug. It's okay, Kaneko said. There's no one here but you and me now. Don't be afraid to let go. Ravel's eyes widened as a torrent of emotions poured from her. She hugged her friend back and wept bitter tears. Chapter 22. Conventions of Love. It was early in the morning. Saturday. Naruto stood in the doorway with Rias, Irina, and Metatron, handing out some last-minute instructions to the Archangel and his newest friend. Also, just in case some kind of post-apocalyptic emergency comes along, I bought you all cell phones. My number is already keyed in on speed dial, so don't be afraid to give us a call, okay? Don't worry, Naruto-san, Irina said with a smile and good cheer. We've got everything under control here. Yes. Worry not, Ninja-sama. I shall protect your home, even if it costs me my life. Metatron gave Naruto a thumbs up and flashed his pearly whites. Naruto could have sworn the Archangel's teeth made a pinging sound. I'm counting on you too, Naruto looked down to see Ophis staring up at him. She was grabbing at his shirt and tugging. What's wrong, Ophis? You should stay, Ophis said with a serious tone in her voice. Ah. Are you gonna miss me? Naruto scratched Ophis behind the ears. The dragon goddess of unlimited power became putty in his hands. I'm sorry, Ophis, but Rias and I have planned this for nearly 2 weeks, and she's really looking forward to it. Rias had been ecstatic when she'd heard about the anime convention that would be happening in Akihabara. Ever since then, she'd made plans to go there, buying tickets, buying cosplay, planning out their itinerary. There was no way he could deny her this chance to go when she was looking forward to it this much. Ophis's expression didn't change, but he got the feeling that she was disappointed. Fine, but when you come back, you're going to take me out somewhere. Sure, Naruto said without really thinking about it. I'll take you somewhere. Rias rolled her eyes but smiled. Do you ever think before you speak? When Naruto just looked at her in confusion, she leaned over and kissed him on the cheek. It's nothing. Naruto frowned at Rias, but shook his head and dispelled his confusion. He turned back to the others and thought about any other last-minute instructions he should give. Rias had already informed them of how everything in the house worked, so he didn't think there was anything more to say. As he looked at the 4 other people standing in the room with him and Rias, a flash of pain struck him. Ravel is still locked up in her room? He asked. Yesterday after school, Naruto and Rias had arrived home from doing some work that Srizex had foisted on them to discover that Ravel had locked herself in her room. Naruto had tried to get her to come out. She'd told him to leave her alone. Then he'd tried to enter her room. She'd lit his head on fire. Naruto didn't know what was wrong with Ravel, but his inability to help her was eating away at him. Don't worry, Naruto, Kaneko said. I'll talk some sense into her. Naruto reached up and gently scratched Kaneko's ears. The white-haired Nekusho purred and leaned into his hand. Thank you, he said. Soon after, Naruto and Rias left the house, several bags filled with cosplay outfits in their hands. A taxi sat outside on the driveway, waiting for them. As he opened the door for Rias to enter, he unwittingly found himself staring at their large home. Naruto, are you okay? Rias asked, reaching out to grab his hand. Yes. Naruto took a deep breath and smiled, even though he didn't feel like smiling. I'm fine. Rias didn't look convinced, but she didn't say anything else. After closing the door behind her, Naruto climbed in on the other side, sat down, and buckled up. Once he'd done so, Rias scooted over to the middle seat and leaned her head on his shoulder. The taxi then pulled out of the driveway and drove down the street. Naruto took one last glance at the house, his thoughts on his friend who was currently hurting over something that he couldn't see. Revel, Devil Ninja, Kaneko watched Naruto and Rias enter the taxi, which drove off moments later. Standing by her side, Irina waved until the taxi was out of sight. "Well, I guess it's just gonna be us," she said in that cheerful voice of hers. "It's going to feel weird without Naruto-san and Rias-san around." Are you okay, Kaneko-san?" "I am fine," Kaneko said. "It's Revel that I'm worried about." Irina's smile shifted, no longer cheerful, but showing off a sadness that Kaneko understood. "Revel, she doesn't like me very much." "It is not that she doesn't like you," Kaneko said carefully. "It's just that she believes you're a threat." "A threat? Why would she think I was a threat?" Irina's confused expression was fetching. Kaneko wondered what Naruto thought when he saw the cute faces this exorcist could make. More than that, she wondered if making a face like that would help her get Naruto to think of her as more than that cute girl who lives with him. Because Naruto likes you, and she has a hard enough time getting his attention because of how she acts. What? Irina's cheeks suddenly went red. "And Naruto-san likes me." Kaneko gave Irina a deadpan stare. "Do you think Naruto would let you stay with us if he didn't like you?" Oh, you mean, like a friend, right? What else would I mean?" That's good," Irina said with a relieved sigh. "Is it? Of course. While I really like talking to Naruto-san, I don't think it would be a good idea to let something happen between us. He's dating Rias, and the Bible says that a man and woman should remain loyal to each other. If something happened between us, it would mean that Naruto-san was being unfaithful, and I would also become a sinful Scarlet Woman. If that happened, I'm sure Michael-sama would be upset with me." "Oh, Michael-sama. Worry not, for I shall remain faithful. Amen." "If you say so," Kaneko said. She wondered how long Irina would maintain that attitude with them. Naruto had a way of making you fall for him without realizing it. "What's this about Scarlet Women?" Metatron asked. "And nothing, Metatron-sama. We were just talking about the importance of remaining faithful." Metatron crossed his arms and nodded. "Indeed. I am pleased to hear that you understand the importance of faith. One must always remain faithful, even when it seems like all hope is lost." As the archangel dubbed the voice of God lectured a starry-eyed Irina about faith, Kaneko left, wandering across the wooden archway toward Revel's room. "Revel." She knocked on the door several times. "Revel, it's me, come out." There was a moment of silence. "Are Naruto-sama and Rias-sama gone?" "Yes." Another moment of silence was followed by the soft sound of footsteps. The door soon opened a crack, and a single bloodshot blue eye peeked out. "Can I help you with something?" asked Revel. "I just came to check on you," Kaneko said. "How are you feeling?" "Like I just had my heart ripped out." Kaneko ignored the spiteful tone in Revel's voice. "You know that Naruto didn't say no to you, right? He'd already made plans before you asked him." "I know that." Revel sounded glum. "It still hurts." "I know, but you're overreacting." "Overreacting?" Revel's eyes could have melted steel. "How am I overreacting?" "You're acting like Naruto told you that he doesn't like you, that he doesn't want to spend time with you." "It's true, isn't it?" Revel spat. "If Naruto-sama wanted to spend time with me, then he would have done so already. Instead he practically ignores me in favor of Rias-sama. Rias Bucko is Naruto's girlfriend. It's only natural that he would spend more time with her than you. You can only say that because you spend all the time you want with him, he doesn't ignore you." Kaneko didn't get angry as Revel yelled at her. She knew that her friend was upset and hurt, just as she understood that this was her friend's way of releasing all of that pent-up anguish. "Naruto has never ignored you," Kaneko said calmly. "He always goes out of his way to make sure you're comfortable and happy. You're just upset that he hasn't gone out with you outside of the house." "Of course I am." Revel looked ready to start crying again. "Naruto-sama is always going out with you, Rias-sama, and even Irina-san, but he never goes out with me. Why? Why won't he spend time with me like he does you and the others?" "Because we ask him to spend time with us," Kaneko answered. "Naruto's really busy with a lot of stuff, so he doesn't really think about going out unless someone else mentions it." Even Rias Bucko needs to tell Naruto that they're going out. Otherwise she and Naruto would never go on any dates. Naruto had been taking on a lot of burdens recently. He'd been working on something with Searsex for the past 2 weeks, helping Rias with her workload, helping train her in Issei, plus his own training. She, Rias, and Irina had been asking him to spend time with them because if they didn't, then Naruto would work himself into the ground. It was for his sake as much as their own. If you want to spend time with Naruto, then you need to ask him, Kaneko continued. I did ask him, in case you didn't realize that, Revel grumbled. I know that, just as I understand that it's my fault this happened. Revel's head snapped up. Her eyes went wide. Kaneko? I didn't know that Naruto would be going out with Rias Bucko this weekend. If I had known that, I would have never suggested you ask him out. I would have told you to wait until next weekend. And no, this wasn't your. That's why, when Naruto comes back home, I'm going to make sure he spends time with you, Kaneko interrupted. I'm going to make this right. As Revel blushed from the roots of her hair down to her toes, Kaneko promised herself that she would make amends for upsetting her friend. Come hell or high water, Naruto was going to take Revel out on a date next weekend. It was the least she could do. Devil Ninja. The taxi took him and Rias all the way to the train station, where they hopped onto a train that would take them to Akihabara. The train was crowded. All the seats were taken when they arrived, and the many people standing were packed shoulder to shoulder, like sardines, only smellier. He and Rias had to stand near the exit, which was the only place left. Their bags sat against the wall next to them. He stood directly behind her, enjoying the feel of her amazing butt pressing against him. His arms were around her slim waist, and Rias had placed her hands over his, leaning into him. This not only allowed them to bask in their shared closeness, but it also kept train gropers from trying anything funny. Naruto looked out the window as the train moved. Unlike most people, who'd likely only see a blur, he could see the buildings as if the train was standing still. Yet even though he was looking at the passing scenery, he didn't see any of it. Are you worried about Revel? Rias asked, shifting against him. Naruto sighed. Am I that transparent? To me you are. Rias took a hand off his arms and reached behind her to caress his cheek. Naruto saw her concerned eyes staring at him in the window's reflection. What's on your mind? Leaning into her hand, Naruto said, Revel was really depressed, but I don't know why. I want to help her, but without even knowing what's wrong, there's nothing I can do. I don't like feeling helpless like this. If it had been something simple like someone being mean to her, then Naruto could have done something, but without any enemy to fight, any need to protect her from someone else, he was at a loss. Rias hummed for a moment. Can I ask you something? What do you think about polygamy? Naruto was startled. What kind of random question was that? Still, he answered to the best of his abilities. I know what it is, but I've never really thought about it. Why do you ask? Rias didn't answer at first. When she did, she spoke slowly, as if she didn't know how to properly word what she wanted to say and was carefully choosing her words. Did you know that in the underworld, a lot of high-class devils have harems? I did not know that, Naruto admitted. I thought the only devils who had harems were douchebags like Riser. Rias chuckled at the comment. She still didn't like Riser very much. It's not something we talk about often, but it's something of an open secret. Riser isn't the only person who turned his peerage into a harem. He's just the most obnoxious about it. Is that so? Why are you telling me this? Because Kaneko and Revel love you? Naruto would admit that he could be dense, but being dense wasn't the same as being stupid. He could see where Rias was going with this. He understood, she wasn't talking about them loving him in a familial way, but in the same way that she loved him. Rias's mentioning of polygamy suddenly made a whole lot of sense. Rias must have seen the realization on his face. Her smile was soft and gentle. I think the reason that Revel is so upset is because you haven't been spending much time with her. She loves you, and the fact that you're always spending time with other people or training hurts her. I see, Naruto thought about all the things that Revel did for him. The times she would bake him sweets. The times she would predict what he needed and respond before anyone else, as if she'd been observing him to make sure he never wanted for anything. All those moments, the little things she did, like how she'd worn nothing but an apron Friday morning, it all clicked together, like pieces to a puzzle suddenly fitting into place. What should I do? Naruto asked. He was conflicted. He loved Revel. He really did. At the same time, The idea of expressing love for someone who was not Rias made him feel like he was being unfaithful to the most important person to him. Even if he loved Revel, Rias was his world. Rias tenderly stroked his cheeks, and Naruto closed his eyes at her soothing touch. When we get back home, the first thing you are going to do is ask Revel out on a date. And you're okay with that? Naruto narrowed his eyes. I know you, Rias, and I know that you dream of having a fairy tale relationship. You're looking for the kind of romance where the prince and princess ride off into the sunset on their giant mecha steed. Is this really something that you're okay with? Turning around in his arms, Rias threaded her hands through his hair, leaned up on her toes, and pressed her lips to his. Naruto held her tightly and melted into her kiss. Her lips were softer than the finest silk, and her nails gently scraping against his scalp was heaven. When she pulled back, her lips were curved upwards, and her eyes shone with a compassion that only she could ever pull off. I love Revel and Kaneko, Rias said. Kaneko has been a part of my family for years now, and Revel has grown on me. I want them to be happy, and I know that you make them happy. Naruto marveled at Rias's kindness. Rias was a princess. She could be spoiled, and she could be greedy, but her capacity to love was bigger than anyone else that he knew. When she loved someone, their happiness became her happiness, and she would do everything she could to make the people she loved happy. Holding Rias close, he placed his chin on her shoulder and closed his eyes. Have I ever told you that you're amazing? Not enough, Rias responded. Be sure to tell me that more often. I will, Naruto said, quietly chuckling to himself. He pulled Rias closer, and she responded by eagerly tightening her hold around his neck. I love you so much. I love you, too, Rias said. As the train continued on its way to Akihabara, Naruto and Rias held onto each other, feeling closer now than ever before. They ignored the catcalls and whistles from the people around them. Devil Ninja, Issei was just coming home from another contract. He'd been doing pretty well with those contracts, that is. While he used to suck at them, he'd eventually gotten the hang of it thanks to Naruto-sensei and Akeno-sama showing him the ropes. While he still completed less contracts than everyone else, he felt like he was getting a lot better. Oddly enough, even though he could now use transportation circles, he still rode on his bike. People simply expected him to be on a bike now, so it would be weird if he suddenly appeared inside of a transportation circle. As he opened the door to his house, Issei's eardrums were struck by shouting. Don't lie to me, you fucking bitch, I know you're the one who destroyed my bedroom. Era. I don't know what you're talking about, Kumbucket. Are you sure you didn't just destroy it yourself? Perhaps you were destroying things in your sleep. You fallen are pretty violent. I don't want to hear that from a disgusting half-breed like you, so shut up, half-devil whore. Oofufufu, it seems like someone needs to have a lesson in humility. Anyo, please don't fight in the house you two. You stay out of this, none, indeed, Asia-chan. Please stand back while I mete out punishment to this pathetic excuse for a slave. You're going to regret calling me that. Issei stepped into the living room after taking off his shoes. His three housemates were all present, and two of them looked like they were about to come to blows. Asia stood between Akeno and Rainier, trying to settle the pair down. It was clear to Issei that she wasn't succeeding. Akeno and Rainier verbally beat the poor girl down whenever she tried to make them stop. He frowned when he saw the tears gathered in Asia's eyes. Few things bothered him. Asia crying was one of them. What's going on here? Issei asked, surprising the three girls. They must have been so into their fighting that they hadn't even noticed him enter. Ice-san. Ice-kun. Akeno quickly ran up to Issei and grabbed his arm. She pressed herself against him, and Issei suddenly had a hard time thinking when the heavenly softness of her breasts touched his arm. Ice-kun, this fallen angel is being mean to me, Akeno said, purring. Could you kill her for me, pretty please? What? Rainier squawked. I'm not doing anything. You're the bitch who keeps ruining my stuff. And don't go to your limp-dicked boyfriend for help, bitch. Your stuff? Oofufufu, dear girl. You don't have any stuff. Everything in this house belongs to us. The furniture in your room, the food that you eat, even Toe's clothes on your back do not belong to you. I could easily take them away if I wanted. In fact, maybe I should do that. Perhaps being forced to walk around naked will make you more amenable. Fucking cunt, Rainier ground out. Issei knew that he had to do something. He couldn't allow any fighting to go on in his parents' house. especially since a fight between these two could very well destroy the house. Reluctantly slipping out of Akino's grasp, he went over to Asia. Asia-chan, what exactly happened here? I am not really sure, Asia admitted. I was getting ready to take a bath when I heard screaming, but I think, Rainier-san's room was destroyed. And she's blaming Akino-sama for it. Issei scratched the back of his head. Well, why don't we take a look at Rainire's room? Unlike Naruto's mansion, Issei's house was a simple two-story home. Rias had hired people to expand it, so it now had several extra rooms, including extra bedrooms and an indoor hot spring. Rainire's room was on the second floor, 3 doors down from his. It was also a complete mess. The wallpaper appeared to have been ripped to shreds by an animal. It hung from the wall like curtains trailing against the floor. A single window sat in the room, situated against the far wall. It had been broken. Shattered glass fragments lay scattered along the floor. Even the bed had been demolished, torn apart and black, as if it had been struck by several bolts of lightning. Asia gasped and held a hand to her mouth. This is really awful. You see this? Rainier pointed at the destroyed room. There's no way I could have done this. My powers have been sealed by Azazel. I'm no more powerful than a pathetic human. That was true. Rainier didn't have any power right now, so she couldn't have done all this, which meant that the only person who could have done it was Akino. But, even if Akino was the perpetrator, Issei didn't want anyone blaming her for it. Well, let's not worry about who's responsible, Issei said at last. Akino smirked at Rainier, who opened her mouth to scream. I'll help you fix this place up. That should be good enough, right? Rainire's mouth snapped shut. Akino lost her smirk. What? Rainier asked, as if she couldn't believe he'd just offered to fix her room. Ice-kun, Akino started, a dangerous edge tinting her voice. You really don't have to do something like that, not for this vile wench. A vile wench? Am I? Rainier snarled. Who's the one that destroyed my... Don't worry, Akino-sama. Issei thumped his chest. I don't mind doing this. I've got this one customer who's always making me help build homes for people, so I'm pretty good at fixing stuff. That isn't what I meant. All right. Issei rolled up the sleeves to his blazer. Asia-chan. Why yes? Do you know if my homebuilding supplies are still in the garage? Yes, I think so. Awesome. Then I'll go and get those now. Would you like to help me? Asia brightened at the request. Yes, Akino-sama. I know it's a lot of trouble, but, do you think you could help me, too? A conflicted expression crossed Akino's face. Issei held his breath. If she said, no, then his attempt at smoothing things over would fail. Fortunately, Akino seemed to be willing to play along. She smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. Ufufufu, why, Ice-kun, are you trying to order me around? No, of course not. Akino-sama is the only one allowed to give orders. I know that. I was just making a request. That's all. Very well. If it's a request from you, then I suppose I can help you out. Issei sighed in relief. His relief was short-lived when Akino grabbed his arm and held it close. I'm still going to punish you, though, she purred. URK, ufufufu, now, I wonder what I did with my whips and chains. Devil Ninja, after exiting the train, Naruto and Rias entered the first building they could find that would let them use the restrooms. Standing in front of a mirror, Naruto looked himself over. He had to admit, he looked pretty badass. While Bleach wasn't a series that he particularly enjoyed, it was one of Rias's favorites. There'd actually been a debate on the way here about which cosplay they should wear. It had been between Archer and Rin, Ichigo and Orihime, Natsu and Lucy, and Alibaba and Morgiana. Rias had argued with herself long and hard, with Naruto standing on the sidelines watching, before she'd come to her decision. Naruto, have you finished changing? Rias asked from outside the bathroom. Almost, Naruto called back. I'm putting on the finishing touches. Making a hand seal, Naruto applied a quick transformation jutsu to his hair, turning his blonde locks orange. They're all done. Exiting the restroom, Naruto found Rias standing out front. He paused. Rias had chosen to dress like Orihime when she'd been kidnapped by the Arankar. Her white dress went down past her knees. Small black lines defined the swell of her breasts, and a black belt wrapped around her thin waist. The shoulders were flared out, while the bust and hips conformed to Rias's voluptuous body like a glove. Her outfit ended with a pair of black boots. "Wow," Naruto muttered. "You like it?" Grinning, Naruto gave Rias a thumbs up. "You look hot." "Why thank you." Rias smiled as she grabbed his hand and tugged him along. They exited the small store, ignoring the man at the register who gawked at them, and wandered into the crowded streets. He and Rias weren't the only ones dressed up. Numerous other people wandering down the street were also decked to the nines in cosplay. Being something of a newbie to the whole anime thing, Naruto only recognized a few of the outfits there, and only the cosplay that were from mainstream stuff and the few weird shows that Rias had introduced him to. "We're drawing a lot of attention," Naruto commented as several people pointed at them. "It's probably because we look a lot like the characters," Rias said, twirling a strand of her now orange hair. "I even dyed my hair for this." "You're lucky." She pouted. "All you have to do is that transformation of yours. This is going to take days to get out." Ah, the price one pays for her obsession. Rather than get angry, Rias chuckled at the small jab Naruto made at her passion for anime. Wrapping both her arms around his left arm, she led the way to their destination. Having already been to Akihabara once, Naruto thought he'd known what to expect. He really should have known better. If there was one thing that life had taught him, it was that he should always expect the unexpected. Expectations had a tendency to be dashed when one least expected it to, after all. Whoa, they soon reached a massive complex, a ginormous building composed of glass and steel. Shaped like a dome. The building seemed to tower over everything else. Already hundreds of people were present. A large upside-down pyramid stood several meters from the building itself, and numerous people dressed in cosplay had congregated there. "This is where the convention is taking place?" "Yep. Pretty impressive, right?" "It's huge." That's what she said. Naruto paused before answering. When he did, it was with a smirk. "Well played, Rias. Well played." Clasping hands, Naruto and Rias grinned at each other before running into the crowd. He hadn't thought it possible, but they appeared to garner even more attention than before. Naruto wondered if it was because they were both foreign. Rias was a gorgeous girl who most people would have mistaken as someone of European descent, and while Naruto had never been to America before, a lot of people said that he looked like a Yankee. "I wonder what a Yankee is," Naruto thought. That thought was dispelled as he and Rias walked past several large pillars that appeared to be supporting a network of steel bars overhead. Rias already had tickets, so all they needed to do was show it to the staff outside, who waved them in. Ah, Naruto didn't think he'd ever seen so many nerds packed into a single place before. Then again, he didn't know if he was allowed to speak, since he was dressed in cosplay as well, and his girlfriend was the queen of nerds, even if she looked more like the kind of girl who enjoyed having tea parties and going to balls. "Come on, Naruto." With Rias in the lead, Naruto was pulled into the crowd of onlookers. They lost themselves within a sea of bodies. Rias pulled Naruto to all of her favorite stalls, where she bought several doujinshi and figurines. Several times they were stopped by photographers who wanted to take their picture. During these moments, they would stand in various poses, all of which Rias had taught him beforehand. After several hours of wandering, picture-taking, and shopping, Naruto felt dead on his feet. "Let's find a place to sit," Rias suggested, having apparently noticed his disheveled state. "Thank you." Locating a couch in one of the lounges, Naruto set their bags down and slumped onto the furniture. He closed his eyes and felt the couch shift as Rias also sat down. A second later, Rias snuggled into him, resting her head on his shoulders and her putting legs across his lap. The soothing scent of her hair, a combination of lilac and vanilla, made him relax. He wrapped his arms around her waist and pulled her closer. "Hey, Naruto?" "Yes. Thank you for doing this with me." Opening his eyes, Naruto presented Rias with a smile. "You're welcome. I know you've wanted to come to a convention for a while now." "Yeah, still, I appreciate it. This really does mean a lot to me." "Whenever you want to do something like this, just let me know," Naruto said, burying his face into Rias's hair. "I will." A soft silence penetrated their area, disrupted only by the noise of the crowd. The flash of several cameras went off, but Naruto ignored them as he closed his eyes and relaxed. He felt like he could fall asleep right there. "Tired? Hardly. It will take far more than 2 hours of walking to tire me out." "Speaking of walking around, are we going to do anything aside from walking and checking out the stalls?" Of course we are. Like what? Rias lifted her head from Naruto's shoulder. Her were gleaming like two greenish-blue gems. We're going to enter the cosplay competition together, she said succinctly. Devil Ninja, there were 2 cosplay competitions. One for singles and one for couples. Both were held in the same place, at the same time. Those who were competing stayed in a room behind a stage, and an announcer would call them up one by one. Next up, we have Sachin and Kuromaki, who are cosplaying as Inuyasha and Sesshomaru. Naruto looked at the stage from behind the curtain as 2 dudes dressed as pretty boys walked up on stage and struck a pose. It was a disturbingly erotic pose. The women in the crowd went crazy, and several were even launched through the air from the force of their nosebleeds. All the men turned green and blacked out. Never expected to see incest yaoi in an anime convention. The things you learn, Rias? Naruto turned to look at his girlfriend and felt a drop of sweat trickle down his neck. Rias looked frightening. Her normally blue eyes were glowing a demonic red. The sound of her teeth grinding together set him on edge. Dark shadows hovered over the top half of her face, so all he could make out was the glowing eyes and viciously gritted teeth. Rias. How dare those idiots destroy a fandom like that? Rias ground out in outrage. Inuyasha and Sesshomaru aren't in that kind of relationship. Inuyasha belongs to Kagome. Only you would get upset over something like that. Rias whirled on him. Aren't you mad, too? Those 2 idiots have completely destroyed everything that made those characters cool. Their attempts to attract attention have destroyed a fandom that has held strong for decades. I think you're overreacting a bit. Overreacting? Naruto stumbled backwards when Rias got into his face. Everybody knows that Inuyasha loves Kagome. And even more people know that the only person Sesshomaru will give the time of day to is Rin. Those 2 aren't lovers, they're brothers. This is a travesty, Naruto, a travesty. Right. Travesty. Rias narrowed her eyes at him. Do you not agree with me? Naruto honestly didn't care, but he knew what Rias would say if he said that. It was best to just go along with her in these instances. I completely agree with you. Liar. I'm being serious. Before Rias could respond, the female announcer spoke again. Next up, we've got none other than the famous Sir Fall Levi Tan, who's dressed up as magical girl Milky Spiral 7. What? Naruto and Rias said at the same time. Turning back to the curtain, they looked out to see none other than Seraphal Leviathan, one of the 4 Satans and Sona Seatree's older sister, posing in magical girl cosplay, much to the pleasure of all the men. Black hair was tied into long pigtails that went down to her butt. Purple eyes stared at the world like bright, iridescent bulbs. Despite not being very tall, she had a figure that many a model had killed themselves trying to achieve. Her large chest was covered by a sleeveless pink shirt with a cape attached to the back. Black sleeves wrapped around slender arms, ending in a pair of black fingerless gloves. Her skirt was short, and Naruto could see her panties as she posed. Pink and black thigh-high socks covered an amazing pair of legs, and black boots with pink ribbons were settled on her feet. A large cheer went up as Seraphal blew everybody a kiss. Winking, she turned around and walked backstage, where she inevitably ran into them. She gasped in surprise. It's Rias Tan and Naru Tan. Naru Tan? Naruto made a face at the nickname. I didn't expect to see you 2 here, Seraphal continued. Are you guys here to see me make my debut in the human world? Naruto wondered if it would be proper to tell her that they hadn't even known she would be here. Actually, we hadn't realized you would be coming here, Rias admitted, saving him the trouble. So I see. Seraphal looked a little disappointed, but she perked up quickly. Then why are you 2 here? Naruto looked at Rias, who was at a complete loss. Her Japanophilism was something that she'd gone to great lengths to hide from the public. Only the people who lived with them knew about her obsession. Telling Mao, someone with the same status as her brother, was like telling God that she'd committed a sin. Looks like it's up to me. I'm a big fan of anime and manga. When I heard about this convention, I knew that I had to come, so I convinced Rias to come with me, Naruto lied. He liked anime and manga, sure, but he watched it mostly because Rias loved it. Oh, Seraphal's eyes widened as if surprised. You didn't really strike me as the otaku type, Naru Tan. I guess it's true what they say about not being able to judge a book by its cover. Right, Next up is lovely couple, Rias and Naruto, who are playing Ichigo Kurosaki and Orihime Inoue. That's us. Naruto turned to Rias and held out his free hand. His other hand held what looked like a giant butcher knife. You ready? Yes. Rias took his hand, and together, they stepped onto the stage. The crowd grew silent as they walked forward. When he and Rias stopped, they gazed at the people below, then posed together, with him standing protectively in front of Rias while she stood behind him, a hand clutching her chest. The crowd went wild. They did several more poses, when Naruto was struck by inspiration. Naruto. Rias squeaked in surprise when Naruto pulled her into a one-armed hug. He grinned. Fans love to ship couples, right? That's what you do all the time. So, let's give them something to really go crazy about. What are you? MPH. Rias's eyes widened as Naruto's lips hampered her own. She blinked several times, a blush spreading across her face before she slowly closed her eyes and leaned into him. The world around them disappeared. The people faded to the background. Nothing existed in that moment anymore. It was just them, Rias and Naruto. Then the world reasserted itself as Naruto pulled back. He gave the flustered-looking Rias a bright grin. She looked at him, her cheeks flushed a bright shade of red. You're really being bold today, aren't you? I'm just following your advice. I don't remember telling you to do anything like this. Should I not have? Rias paused, then shook her head. No, I liked it, she muttered, turning her head away from him. Then it's all good. Now, let's take a bow. You're really getting into this. So, you can tell, of course. I can always tell what my boyfriend is thinking. With matching grins, he and Rias held hands and bowed to the crowd that was going absolutely wild, cheering and screaming. Not all of the screams were good. It seemed as if some of the people shipped another bleach couple, Ichigo and Rukia, and they were upset that he and Rias would ruin their favorite pairing. Most people seemed to enjoy their antics, however, so it was all good. Wow! What an adorable couple! That was Rias and Naruto dressed as Orihime and Ichigo, folks. Let's give them a round of applause. Giving one final bow, Naruto tugged on Rias's hand and left the stage. That was really cool, you too, Seraphol said in greeting as he and Rias went back inside. She seemed even more excited than they were. You two were so cute. Thank you, Rias mumbled. Her cheeks were still red. Do you think you'll win? Seraphol asked. Naruto shrugged. Don't know. Guess we'll just have to wait and see. And now to announce the winners of this year's cosplay competition, the announcer lady said. Rias, in spite of being embarrassed, turned to the stage and stared at the woman as if willing her to select them. In third place for the singles competition, we have Daisuke Kanda dressed as Natsu Dragneel. In second place, Kirihino Sachiya as Yuno Gasai, and first place belongs to none other than Seraphol Levi Tan. Yay! Magical girl Levi Tan wins. Laughing like a child, Seraphol rushed onto the stage, where she received her prize. She's awfully excitable, Naruto said. That's Seraphol-sama for you. Rias agreed. She's been like that ever since I've known her. It drives her sister insane. Interesting. Seraphol came back, her giddy expression making Naruto smile. The woman was so excited that her enthusiasm was contagious. Even Rias, who'd been trying to hide her excitement since they'd met up with Seraphol, wore a wide smile. And now for the couples competition. In third place we have Hina and Tuya, who dressed as Edward Elric and Winry Rockbell. In second place goes to Kanade and Nuran, who came as Mashiro and Sorata. And finally, in first place, our winners of the couples competition is Naruto and Rias gripped each other's hand tightly. Murikita and Urashina, who played Kuro and Shiro. Naruto and Rias stared blankly at the announcer as two men whose black and white outfits contrasted with each other walked onto the stage. Naruto felt like a bucket of cold ice water had been dumped on him. From her expression, Rias felt the same way. Devil Ninja. It was Sunday evening. The sun was setting by the time their train arrived in Ko Station. Naruto and Rias took a taxi to a small park, where they got out and walked the rest of the way home. Holding his girlfriend's hand, their fingers entwined together, Naruto listened to the disappointed Rias as she bemoaned their unfortunate fate. I can't believe we didn't win. We didn't even get third place, and that stupid yaoi couple who ruined a perfectly good bromance ended up in first. Rias was an avid shipper. She had so many couples that she shipped that he'd long since lost count of them. He wondered if that was something that all Japanophiles did, or if Rias was just special. Seeing his girlfriend get so worked up over a fictional pairing made him chuckle. "What are you laughing about? This is serious, Naruto. You are just way too cute, Rias. I hope you never change." The smile that appeared on Rias's face was one of seductive gratitude. "I think words like that deserve a reward." "They do?" Naruto turned his head to look at her. The moment he did, Rias leaned up and placed a kiss on his lips. "Thank you," she whispered. "I know I'm not always an easy girl to please." "If you say so. I think you're perfect just the way you are." Rias let go of Naruto's hand and moved closer to him, taking his arm and putting it over her shoulder. He got the hint and pulled her close. She placed her head on his shoulder, and they walked the rest of the way home like that. "You remember what you're going to do when we get home?" "Yep. Good. Be sure not to just spring it on her, okay? Rebel needs a delicate touch." "Delicate touch. Got it. I'm being serious, Naruto. You need to be delicate when asking her out." "Hey, I can be delicate." When Rias deadpanned, Naruto turned his head and grumbled, causing her to chuckle. Their home looked the same as it always did. A large, imposing Japanese-style mansion. The front yard, reminiscent of a traditional Japanese garden, had a koi pond and stream running underneath a bridge, which he and Rias walked across to reach the front door. They opened the door. "Get back here, you damn cat," and ducked underneath a fireball that flew over their heads. Revel snarled as she launched another fireball at Kaneko, whose cat-like laughter eerily reminded Naruto of Kuroka. The fireball missed the Nekusho and instead exploded against the wall, bursting into a brilliant plume of sparks. He was very grateful they decided to fireproof these walls. "What? My hair. Why is it always getting lit on fire?" "Pete, please calm down, Metatron-sama. I can't put it out with you running around like that." "Oh, Michael-sama. This must be a trial that you have placed before me. Fear not. I will put out the fire on Metatron-sama's head." Naruto and Rias stood in the doorway for several seconds, wondering about what kind of hell they just jumped into. It was like they'd stepped into a chaotic world of unimaginable proportions. Everyone was running around, fireballs were being flung through the air. Metatron was beginning to look extra crispy, and Irina was freaking out. "What is going on here?" Rias demanded to know. Everyone stopped what they were doing and turned to face them. Naruto-sama. Rias-sama. Revel squeaked. "What are you all doing?" Rias asked with a sigh. This is Naruto-tan. NYA. Whoa. Naruto was surprised when Kaneko leapt at him like a tigress leaping on a mouse. She tackled him to the floor, where she proceeded to nuzzle her face against his chest. NYA. It's Naruto-tan. You smell so good. What the heck? Kaneko, what's wrong with you? NYA, Naruto-tan. Let's make babies, NYA, be babies? Naruto knew that something was wrong with Kaneko. He didn't know what, but the Kaneko that he knew never acted like this. She was acting like a horny cat, and dang it, he was responding to her. Crap, if she doesn't stop rubbing against me, my dick's going to be hard enough to cut glass. Rias, help. So, Rias turned to Revel as Kaneko continued to rub herself against Naruto like a cat marking her territory. How did this happen? Don't ignore me. Damn it, that's my fault, Irina admitted. I found a stray cat the other day. It was living in a cardboard box and I felt really bad for it, so I brought it home with me. I bought some catnip at the convenience store and Kaneko found it. Oi. Rias nodded several times. That makes sense. Well, I guess there's nothing to do but wait it out. What do you mean, wait it out? Naruto shrieked when a tail snuck down his pants. Good luck, Naruto. Rias gave him a thumbs up. Wait, what do you mean good luck? Rias, help me. Devil Ninja, it took nearly 2 hours for Kaneko to run out of juice. Naruto felt like he'd been put through a dry tumbler. His hair was a mess, his clothing was ruffled, he was exhausted, and there were several suspicious stains on his pant legs that he'd rather not think about. In short, he really wanted to head to bed. Unfortunately, there were still things that he needed to do before he could reach the blissful nirvana that was slumber. Sitting on Kaneko's bed, Naruto tenderly ran his hands through the girl's hair. Her white locks parted like silk threads before his fingers. Her hair was impeccably soft. Even though he was exhausted, Naruto felt like he could have stayed like this for hours. "Nya, Naruto, pet me more," Kaneko mumbled in her sleep. "She seems to be enjoying herself," Office said. "Yeah, she really likes it when I pet her. Must be nice to have you pet her like that, I guess. You should pet me, too." Naruto bit his tongue and tried not to scream when he realized that Office was now in the room. He stared at the dragon god, his heart trying to beat its way out of his chest. When had she shown up? How had she snuck up on him without him realizing it? What kind of ninja was he to let a half-pint little girl sneak up on him? "When did you get here? I've been here for several minutes." Naruto twitched. "Couldn't you have knocked on the door?" "I did. You didn't answer." "All right. You got me there. So, what have you been up to?" "Research." "Research?" Naruto raised an eyebrow. Office nodded. "Yes, research. Please look forward to it." Naruto didn't want to know. "Right, well, I've got some things to do, so." "I'll come with you," Office said, climbing onto his lap. "What are you doing? Carry me." Naruto sighed, but he didn't have the strength to argue. He picked up the dragon disguised as a girl, and carried her out of the room. Rias and Irina were waiting for him. They stood outside of the door, one looking worried and the other frowning at Office. "What are you two doing?" "We just wanted to check on you and Kaneko," Rias assured Naruto. "How is she?" "Sleeping like a baby now." Rias gave him an apologetic look. "Sorry for not helping you out." "Had you tried to help, Kaneko would have simply changed targets. It was better this way, I think." "I am sorry, Naruto-san," Irina apologized, squirming. "I was the reason Kaneko-san was acting like this." "It's fine. Just don't buy any more catnip, okay? And if you do, be sure to get rid of it before coming here." "Right." Irina nodded, her expression serious. "Don't worry, Naruto-san. I swear on the great Michael-sama that I'll do exactly what you ask." "Ah, Michael-sama. This must be a lesson from him about learning to coexist with devils." As a starry-eyed Irina clasped her hands in prayer, Rias turned back to Naruto. "By the way, why is Office in your arms?" "Because I want him to carry me," Office said. "Why did that sound like a question?" Rias pressed a hand to her face. "Anyway, Revel is currently in her room. You should go there before getting ready for bed." Naruto agreed. "Office, I need to talk to Revel alone, so can I let you down now?" "Why are you asking her for permission?" Rias asked. Office frowned. It was tiny, minuscule even, but it was there. "Fine," she muttered, sounding almost disappointed. "But you're going to spend more time with me." She must have been feeling neglected, Naruto realized. He'd been so busy that he hadn't spent much time with her. "Sure thing. You and I will do something fun together later," Naruto said. After parting ways with Rias, Irina, and Office, Naruto found himself in front of Revel's door. It was a very normal door made from wood and painted white. It didn't look any different from any other door in the house, yet Naruto felt a sense of foreboding as he stared at it. Is it because of what happened the other day? Naruto wondered. Rias told me that Revel had probably been asking if I was busy because she wanted to spend time with me. It must have hurt when I told her that I'd made plans. The very idea of hurting the people he cared about was anathema to him. Yet that was what he'd done. He'd hurt someone important to him. "I have to make things right." He knocked on the door. "Revel? Revel, are you in there?" Pausing, Naruto strained his ears to listen. There was nothing at first, but soon, he could hear the padding of feet along carpet. The sound soon stopped. There was a click. Then the door opened, and a single blue eye surrounded by blonde hair peeked out of the crack. "Naruto-sama. Hey." Naruto gave her a soft smile. "Can I come in for a second? I wanted to talk to you about something." The door remained partially closed for a moment, and Naruto feared Revel would slam the door in his face. After several tense seconds of silence, she hesitantly opened the door. "Come on in." Naruto breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank you." Revel's room looked exactly as he expected it to. The light pink walls complemented the beige carpet. Portraits of her family hung from the walls. Off to the side sat a round table with glass chairs, and a tea set had been placed on top of it. Her bed, which was a bunk bed that she normally shared with Kaneko these days, was situated in a corner of the room. "Would you like to have a seat, Naruto-sama?" Yes, thank you." Naruto felt nervous as he sat down on a chair. His heart was like a bongo drum in his chest, pounding away with the force of an earth jutsu. He cursed himself. Before now, he would have never been this nervous around Revel, but his heart had been going haywire ever since he'd learned about her feelings for him. In hindsight, it should have been obvious that she liked him. Naruto couldn't believe he'd been so blind. "Can I get you something to drink?" "Oh, no, please don't trouble yourself. Why don't you also sit down, Revel?" "Okay." Revel sat down on the opposite side of the table. She observed him with the slightest of frowns, and Naruto could sense the way her eyes studied him, cataloging everything about him. "You're troubled." It was not a question. Somehow, Revel always seemed to see through him. "Are you okay?" I should be the one asking that. Naruto felt sick to his stomach, and not just because he'd come here to do something he never thought he would do. Even now, after he'd hurt her, Revel still expressed more concern for him than she did for herself. That is, I was wondering." Naruto winced. He was tripping over his words like a newborn tripping over their feet when they first started to walk. This wasn't like him at all. What happened to the young man who plunged on regardless of the consequences? Where had he gone? "I guess it's different now. This isn't like when Rias and I became a couple. It's not the same." He was uncomfortable with the idea of being with someone other than Rias. At the same time, he really did love Revel and Kaneko and wanted them to be happy. Rias had expressed this desire as well, which was what had led to now. But now that he was here, worry gnawed at him like a rabid pack of angry dragons. "Come on, Naruto. Just do it." Standing up rather abruptly, Naruto startled poor Revel, who released a squeak of surprise. "Revel, yes? Will you go out with me?" Revel sat there, staring at him with unblinking eyes. She didn't seem to understand what he was asking, at least not at first. It took a while, but as the seconds ticked by, Revel's eyes slowly widened and her cheeks grew warm. They went from a soft pink to an iridescent red. Naruto thought they might catch fire. What are you asking?" "I'm asking you to go on a date with me." Naruto plunged ahead. He couldn't allow himself to stop now. "Would you like to go out with VWA?" Naruto screamed in surprise and pain when a fireball exploded off his face. "Yo, you can't ask a girl that so suddenly," Revel shouted, her voice a high-pitched squeak. She stood up abruptly, the chair she'd been sitting in tipping over. What do you think you're, Kya?" Revel. As Revel tripped over her own chair and began to fall, Naruto grabbed her hand and pulled her to him. He wrapped his arms around her small but womanly figure. Revel buried her face in his chest, and her small hands came up to grasp the back of his shirt. Her hands were trembling. "Are you okay?" Naruto asked. "Did you mean it?" Revel asked, her voice muffled. What? Do you really want to go out with me?" Naruto relaxed as her words reached him. "Of course I do. I wouldn't be asking you to go on a date with me if I didn't want to go out with you." "What about Rias?" Naruto wondered what he should say. If he said that Rias told him to ask her out, then it would make it seem like he didn't want to go out with her. If he said that Rias wasn't involved in this, it would make it seem like he was going behind his girlfriend's back. "Rias and I have spoken about it," he said carefully, "and she said that she's okay with us going out." "Really?" Revel lifted her head up and set her chin on his chest. Her blue eyes glimmered as the light hit them. Really? "Yeah, really." When Revel buried her face back into his shirt, he thought something was wrong. When his shirt became stained with tears, he felt like panicking. He was about to try and calm the blonde girl down. "I'm so glad," when she spoke. What? I was really worried. I really want to become closer to you, but I could never work up the courage, and then when I did, you were too busy to even spend time with me. And it hurt. I know it wasn't your fault, but it really hurt when you said you were doing something this weekend." Naruto pressed his face into Revel's hair. "I'm sorry. If I had known you wanted to go out with me, I don't know what I would have done, but I would have thought of something. Can you forgive me?" Revel turned her head and pressed her ear against his chest. He wondered if she was trying to hear his heartbeat. "Of course. More than anything else, I want to put what happened behind us." "Okay. Then that's what we'll do, and we can go on our date next weekend, if you aren't busy." "I'm not busy. I'd like to go out with you next weekend." "All right, then. It's date." Naruto and Revel smiled at each other, until they noticed how compromising their position was. Then they blushed and let go of each other. So," Revel squeaked. Would you like some tea? Naruto, more than eager to play off what just happened, nodded fervently. Ah, yeah, okay. Tea then, please sit down. I'll prepare some tea for you. As he sat down and Ravel left the room to prepare tea, Naruto wondered what the results of this day would bring. Whatever it brings, I'm sure it'll be interesting. You said it. Just then, a series of loud bangs and crashes came from outside the room. Kei Kaneko. What are you doing? NYA, NYA, NYA. Rebelled Tan. Let's have some fun in the bath together. NYA. No, wait. I'm supposed to bring Naruto-sama some tea. It's okay. NYA. He can join us. NYA, JJ join. Don't say something like that so readily, and stop trying to take off my clothes. As squeals erupted from beyond the door. Naruto shook his head and sighed. His life, it seemed, was about to become even more interesting. Why do I feel like there's a god out there playing with my life? Naruto wondered to himself. No one answered him, unfortunately.